In 1615, in a remote mountain dojo in feudal Japan, a master asked his student a question that would change everything. "Takeshi, if you face 10 enemies with your sword, how many can you kill?" The young samurai answered confidently, "All 10, master." The old master shook his head. "Wrong. You will kill none, because the moment you think about killing 10, you have already lost to the first." This is the paradox every samurai had to solve. True victory comes not from action, but from presence. Not from technique, but from mind. Not from the sword in your hand, but from the silence in your soul. The samurai who understood this became legends. Those who didn't became corpses. And here's what nobody tells you. This principle isn't about fighting, it's about living. Right now, you're fighting 10 battles. Work, relationships, health, purpose. And you're losing all of them for the same reason that samurai died on battlefields 400 years ago. You're everywhere except here. You're thinking about 10 enemies instead of facing the one in front of you. The question is, are you ready to learn what the samurai knew? Chapter 1. The Awakening. Takeshi's Shame. The year is 1615. Feudal Japan. The Tokugawa shogunate has unified the country after centuries of civil war. But in the mountains of Haida province, one dojo still trains warriors in the old way. Takeshi was 17 years old when shame found him. He'd been training in the dojo for 5 years. 5 years of sword practice, meditation, studying the classics. He could execute cutter perfectly. His strikes were fast, precise, technically flawless. But he had a problem that no amount of practice could fix. Fear. During sparring sessions with bak and wooden practice swords, Takeshi's mind would race. What if I get hit? What if I lose? What if the master sees my weakness? His body would tense. His breathing would become shallow. His perfect technique would crumble. The other students noticed whispers in the dojo. "Takeshi has good form but no spirit. He thinks too much. He'll never pass the test." The test. The final examination that separated students from samurai. A real duel with a real sword against a master. Not to the death, but to the moment where death becomes inevitable. Most students took this test at 18. Takeshi was already 17 and a half, and his master Yamamoto-sensei hadn't even mentioned it. One evening after training, Takeshi approached his master. The old man sat in Caesar formal kneeling position in front of the dojo shrine, eyes closed in meditation. Takeshi knelt and waited. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. Finally, Yamamoto-sensei opened his eyes. "Master," Takeshi said, voice trembling slightly, "when will I be ready for the test?" The master studied him. Those eyes had seen 100 battles, trained 1,000 students. They saw everything. "You are technically ready now, Yamamoto," Sensei said, "but technically ready means nothing." "I don't understand, master." "Stand up. Take your sword." Takeshi stood, gripped his bakan. "Now strike me." Takeshi raised his sword, but his hands shook. His master was unarmed, kneeling. This was the perfect opening. But something stopped him. "I can't, master." "Why not?" "Because you're my master. It would be disrespectful." Yamamoto-sensei's face hardened. "Respect? No, you lie to yourself. The truth is you're afraid. Afraid of what happens after the strike. Afraid of my reaction. Afraid of failure. Your mind is in 10 places except the one that matters here now. This moment." The words hit Takeshi like physical blows. "Until you learn to be present, you will never be samurai. You will be a corpse with good technique. Go meditate on this." That night, Takeshi couldn't sleep. He sat in his small room staring at the moonlight through the window. He dedicated 5 years to becoming samurai. 5 years of sacrifice, pain, discipline. And he was failing not because of his body, but because of his mind. He remembered the master's words. "Your mind is in 10 places." It was true. During every fight, Takeshi was thinking about the outcome, about looking good, about not failing, about everything except the actual moment of combat. As dawn broke, Takeshi made a decision. He would find the answer, whatever it took. Chapter 2. The Principal Shosen Beginner's Mind. The next morning, Yamamoto-sensei announced, "Today no sword practice. Today we clean." The students groaned internally but showed nothing. Discipline. For the entire day they swept the dojo, washed the floors, cleaned the weapons, organized the shrine, manual labor, mindless work. Or so Takeshi thought. He swept the same wooden floor he'd swept hundreds of times before. His mind wandered. This is pointless. I should be training. The test is coming. I need to improve my technique, not waste time cleaning. Then he noticed something. The master was sweeping too, but he swept differently. Each stroke of the broom was deliberate, focused, complete. When he swept left, he was fully sweeping left. When he swept right, he was fully sweeping right. There was a quality to his movement, a pure essence that transformed the mundane task into something almost sacred. Takeshi watched, transfixed. After the cleaning ended, the master called him over. "What did you learn today, Takeshi?" Takeshi hesitated. "That the dojo must be kept clean." Yamamoto-sensei smiled. "Wrong. Come with me." They walked to a small meditation hall behind the main dojo. Inside, a single scroll hung on the wall. 2 characters in elegant calligraphy. Chuen Shoshin. The master said, "Beginner's mind." Do you know what this means? 2. Approach everything like a beginner. Deeper. When a beginner picks up a sword for the first time, what is in his mind? Takeshi thought. Curiosity, focus on learning, yes. And what else? Nothing else. Just the sword, just that moment. Exactly. The beginner's mind is empty of expectation, empty of fear, empty of everywhere except here. The beginner doesn't think about being the best swordsman. He thinks only about this grip, this stance, this swing. The master sat in Caesar. Takeshi followed. "Now tell me, Takeshi, when you sweep the floor, where is your mind?" Takeshi felt shame rise. Everywhere else, thinking about training, about the test, about the future. And when you fight with Bakan, the same thinking about outcomes, about looking good, about not failing. So you are never actually present for anything. You sweep while thinking about swords. You practice swords while thinking about tests. You are always one step away from reality. This is why you fail. The master's words were gentle but devastating. The samurai's greatest weapon is not the katana, it is presence. Zanshin, remaining awareness. Foshin, immovable. Mind. Hoshin, ordinary mind. All of these point to the same truth. Be here, now completely. He gestured to the scroll. Shosen is the foundation. Empty, your mind of 10,000 thoughts. Face only what is in front of you. Takeshi stared at the characters. Chuen beginner's mind. Master, how do I practice this? Yamamoto-sensei stood. Starting tomorrow, you will train differently. Every task you do, eating, walking, sweeping, sword practice, you will do with complete attention. When you eat, you eat. When you walk, you walk. When you swing your sword, there is only the sword. Nothing else exists. For how long? Until you understand. Maybe 1 month, maybe 1 year, maybe never. It depends on you. That night, Takeshi began. He sat for meditation. But, instead of trying to achieve anything, he simply sat breathing, present. Thoughts arose. Am I doing this right? Is this working? What if I fail? Each time he acknowledged the thought and returned to his breath. Here, now, this, moment only. It was the hardest thing he'd ever done. If you're beginning to understand how presence could transform your life, the way it transformed Takeshi's, join the Presence and Purpose community. Subscribe and walk this path with us as we explore the ancient warrior wisdom that builds modern mastery. Chapter 3, The Test. 30 Days of Presence. The first week was torture. Takeshi's mind rebelled against presence. Every activity felt agonizingly slow. Eating breakfast became an eternity. Walking to the training hall felt like wading through mud. His mind screamed, "This is pointless. You're wasting time. Everyone else is getting better while you're just being present." But he continued because the master had given him a path, and Takeshi would follow it to the end. Week 2 brought a shift. During morning meditation, Takeshi experienced something strange. For just a few seconds, the constant chatter in his mind stopped. Not because he forced it, it just stopped. In that gap of silence, he heard the wind in the trees outside, the creaking of the wooden building, his own heartbeat. It felt like waking up from a dream, like he'd been asleep his entire life and suddenly opened his eyes for the first time. The moment passed. The mental chatter returned. But now, Takeshi knew silence was possible. Presence was real. He intensified his practice. When sweeping, he became sweeping. The movement of the broom, the sound of bristles on wood, the sensation in his arms that was his entire universe. When eating, he tasted every grain of rice, chewed slowly, experienced the simple act of nourishment. When walking, each step was complete, heel to toe, weight shifting, balance adjusting. The other students thought he'd gone mad. Takeshi walks like an old man now. He eats like a monk. Has he given up on becoming samurai? But the master watched, said nothing, waited. Week 3 brought the real test, sparring session. Takeshi faced another student, a talented fighter named Kenji, who had already passed his final examination. They both held beckon. Old Takeshi would have been thinking, Kenji is better than me. What if I lose in front of everyone? I need to impress the master. New Takeshi simply stood present, aware. Kenji attacked, a fast overhead strike, and something miraculous happened. Takeshi's body moved without thinking. He sidestepped, deflected, and countered all in one fluid motion. No thought, no hesitation, pure response. Kenji stumbled back, shocked. They reset. Ought again. This time, Takeshi wasn't fighting Kenji. He was simply present with the moment. When Kenji moved, Takeshi responded, not from technique stored in memory, but from immediate awareness. It was like the fight was moving through him, not by him. The match ended. Kenji bowed, deeply. That was different. You've changed. Takeshi bowed back, saying nothing. But inside, understanding was dawning. Presence wasn't just a meditation practice. It was the source of all warrior power. When you're fully present, you don't react from fear or thought. You respond from awareness. And awareness is always faster, always more appropriate, always more powerful than thinking. That evening, the master called him over. "Tomorrow, Yamamoto," Sensei said, "you will face your final test." Takeshi felt fear rise. "Then let it pass here now, only this moment." "Yes, master. I'm ready." For the first time in 5 years, it was true. Chapter 4, Warrior Psychology, the Science of Presence. Before we continue Takeshi's story, let's understand what was actually happening in his brain. Modern neuroscience has discovered something the samurai knew 400 years ago. Presence is a trainable skill that physically changes your brain structure. When Takeshi practiced being present, he was deactivating his default mode network, the DMN. This is the brain network, responsible for mind-wandering, self-referential thinking, and anxiety about past and future. Every time he brought his attention back to the present moment, he was strengthening his prefrontal cortex, the region controlling attention, emotional regulation, and executive function. This isn't mysticism. This is measurable brain change. Studies on meditation practitioners show increased gray matter density in areas controlling attention, and decreased activity in areas controlling fear response and anxiety. The samurai didn't have MRI machines, but they understood the principle perfectly. Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman in Japanese history, wrote in the Book of Five Rings, "In strategy it is important to see distant things as if they were close, and to take a distanced view of close things. This is presence, the ability to be here, while maintaining perspective, the ability to face immediate danger without losing composure." Takwun Soho, the Zen master who advised many samurai, explained it this way: "The mind must always be in the state of flowing, for when it stops anywhere, that means the flow is interrupted, and it is this interruption that is injurious to the well-being of the mind. Modern psychology calls this flow state. The samurai called it Mushin no mind. But there's a deeper layer. When Takeshi fought Kenji while fully present, his amygdala, the brain's fear center, had less control over his responses. His body accessed trained movements without the interference of conscious thought.